All right, let's just dive right into it. Today, we're doing a detailed breakdown of what it would actually take, logistically, financially, the whole shebang, to rebuild the Taj Mahal today. I mean, think about it. It's been over 400 years since its massive 22-year construction kicked off way back in 1631. We look at this incredible monument and see, a timeless masterpiece. But behind all that romance, it is a literal mind-bending feat of engineering. The original took thousands of elephants, millions of bricks, and a small army of artisans. So if a modern nation or some billionaire wanted to perfectly replicate it right now using today's tools and today's economy, could they? And more importantly, what on earth would that final receipt look like? To figure that out, we've got a project master plan for this explainer. We're going to break this down step by step, starting with the foundation, then the heavy cost of marble, moving into the pietra dure art, the crazy engineering and illusions, and finally, the total cost and conclusion. All right, phase one, the hardest task of all, the foundation. We're starting right at the muddy banks of the Yamuna River. Honestly, building a megastructure of this weight on a literal swamp without modern concrete back then seemed completely impossible. The contrast between 1632 tech and modern tech is absolutely wild. The Mughals actually dug these deep wells and filled them with ebony and mahogany logs. And get this, those specific woods actually solidify and turn as strong as steel when they're constantly exposed to water. It's brilliant. But today, modern building codes absolutely will not let us rely on ancient wood in a riverbank, so instead we're forced to use heavy drilling machinery to bore 150 feet straight down to solid bedrock, creating 600 massive holes. Then we fill those with heavy steel piles and waterproof concrete just to support a 5-meter-thick concrete slab across the entire 3-acre footprint. 7,500. That is the exact number of concrete mixer trucks you'd need lined up just to pour that single subsurface foundation slab. Can you even imagine the sheer logistical nightmare of coordinating 7,500 massive trucks? They'd be pouring 6,700 cubic meters of concrete, all just to make sure a replica doesn't immediately sink into the mud the way a lesser building would. So that brings us to our first massive expense, roughly $250 million and 2 full years of work. And guess what? We haven't even placed a single piece of white marble yet. Just building a 42-acre cofferdam to hold back the river water, that costs $20 million all on its own. Add in the steel piles, the waterproof concrete, the solid platform. The foundation is this invisible, massive sinkhole for our budget, coming in at $250 million, but it is absolutely vital. Moving right along to part 2, the heavy cost of marble. Let's talk about the structural framework and that world-famous white casing. Because when you look at the Taj, it looks like a solid mountain of gleaming white stone, right? Well, things aren't exactly what they seem. Here's the thing, the Mughal engineers were actually pulling off a brilliant deception for structural safety. The core of the building is actually just red brick and lime mortar. They just placed 7,000 tons of Makrana marble over it like a casing. Why? Well, solid marble is 83% heavier than red brick. A standard red brick is about 3 kilograms, but a solid block of marble that exact same size weighs 5.5 kilos. If they had built the whole thing out of solid marble, the immense weight would have overwhelmed even that genius foundation and the whole structure would have just sunk straight into the river. So how do we get all that stone? The original builders used a network of 1,000 elephants and a 9-kilometer mud ramp. To replicate that today, we have to navigate some serious modern scarcity. That original Makrona marble is incredibly rare now. To get the 7,000 tons we need, step 1 is literally leasing every single one of the 400 limited Makrona mines left, having them work exclusively for us for 28 weeks. Then, step 2 is using massive diamond wire saws, and step 3 involves a continuous convoy of 1,100 trucks delivering stone every 15 minutes for 7 to 8 months straight. And speaking of those diamond wire saws, you would need exactly 250 of these heavy-duty machines running day and night for 5 straight years just to slice the stone into those pristine slabs. That alone would consume 20 megawatt hours of electricity. Plus, marble extraction is incredibly wasteful. You're looking at over 70% waste, which makes securing flawless white marble an absolute fortune in today's world. So let's tally all this up for the framework phase. Between the steel and concrete framework, the insane $550 million extraction fee, the diamond cutting machines, that $300 million electricity bill, and the truck transport, our running tally just skyrocketed past $1 billion. Total framework cost $1.08 billion. And we are currently looking at one of the most expensive structures on Earth, and the walls are still completely blank. Which brings us perfectly to phase 3, pietra dura and hand skills. We are now facing the one task that modern heavy machinery and 3D printing literally cannot solve. It's time to add the color, the soul, and that microscopic detail. We're talking about pietra dura, a highly precise 17th century inlay art. Originally, this took thousands of artists from India, Persia, and Central Asia. They didn't just paint flowers on the walls. They carved millimeter-deep floral grooves into the hard marble, then cut and fit colorful gemstones into those grooves so perfectly that not even a single human hair can pass between them. It's just mind-blowing. Now, you might be thinking, hey, can't we just use lasers? Well, sure, modern laser cutters can map and cut the digital edges of the marble grooves, but a human eye is still 100% mandatory for the final fit. You need humans to perfectly match the natural stone lines, finish the surface, and fit the gem seamlessly. No machine can replicate that delicate touch. We'd actually need to source about 5,000 highly skilled artists globally and have them work for 5 solid years. And as you can guess, paying for this specific human touch is not cheap. Setting up the laser cutting is about $40 million, but the salary and housing for 5,000 global artists over 5 years, that's another $180 million. So that adds another staggering $220 million to our growing receipt, just for the artwork phase. All right, phase 4, engineering and illusions. Before we can calculate the final bill, we've got to account for the Mughals' genius optical illusions. I mean, they were masters of perspective. Like, check out the 43-meter-tall minarets at the corners. When you look closely at the compound, your eye tells you everything is standing perfectly straight at 90 degrees. It feels incredibly balanced. But are they actually straight? Plot twist, they absolutely aren't. They have a 0.5-degree outward lean. The builders knew that if the towers were exactly 90 degrees straight, the human eye would naturally perceive them as leaning inward toward the dome, a trick of the mind called a geometrical optical illusion. So they leaned them outward to fix it. Plus, this was a brilliant safety feature. If a massive earthquake strikes, those 43-meter towers are designed to fall outward away from the main structure, saving the priceless central dome from being crushed. Replicating this exact half-degree lean today adds another $100,000 in purely specialized construction costs, and that's not even counting the marble. Okay, final phase, part 5, total cost and conclusion. The blueprint is executed, and it is finally time to tally up the invoice for our modern replica. We've navigated the swampy foundation for $250 million, sourced the ultra-rare marble and framework for $1.08 billion, hired an army of artisans for $220 million, and engineered the minarets. The sheer construction grand total comes to roughly $1.6 billion. That's about 150 billion Indian rupees. This covers the materials, the intensive labor, the electricity, everything. It is an astronomical figure for a single memorial building. But wait, actually, there is a catch. If we factor in purchasing the 42 acres of land and building the intricate gardens, the pools, and the fountains, that bill easily shoots up to a cool $2 billion. You see, the Taj Mahal isn't just a building, it's an entire ecosystem of symmetrical gardens and precisely aligned reflecting pools designed to never blur the monument's reflection. $2 billion. But what's truly jaw-dropping is putting this into historical context. Historical records show the Mughal Empire spent 15% of its total annual income on this project. The official records state it cost roughly 3.2 crore Mughal rupees out of an annual income of 20 to 25 crore. Back then, 1 rupee could buy you 40 to 50 kilograms of rice. That means 1 historical rupee was worth about $140 today. So their actual spend in modern purchasing power was closer to $4 billion. They literally poured in an unimaginable portion of the wealth of one of the richest empires on earth into a single passion project. No financial return on investment, just pure dedication. So while this modern blueprint proves that, yes, we absolutely could technically rebuild the Taj Mahal today from an engineering standpoint, the real question I want to leave you with is this. Will any modern nation ever possess the obsessive passion to pour 15% of its entire national wealth into a singular memorial? It took this totally unrepeatable blend of supreme power, unlimited wealth, and staggering devotion to build this wonder of the world. And honestly, such passion and financial recklessness will probably never happen again. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how the wonders around us were truly built.